was drinking last night with a biker, and I showed him a picture of you. So pal, get to know you'll like her. Seemed like the least I could do. Cause when he's charging his chopper up and down your carpeted halls, you'll think me by contrast quite proper. Never mind how I stumble and fall. No, never mind how I stumble and fall. You imagine me sipping champagne from your booth for a taste of your elegant pride. Maybe going to hell in a bucket, babe, but at least I'm enjoying the ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Yeah, at least I'm enjoying the ride. Yeah. I'm this sweet little soft-core pretender. Somehow, baby, got hot as it gets. With your black leather coat spot suspended, chick and her whip and her pets. And we know you're the reincarnation of the ravenous cat from the grave. And we know how you love your ovation and the Z-rated scenes you create. Yeah, Z-rated scenes you create. You imagine me sipping champagne from your booth for a taste of your elegant pride. Maybe going to hell in a bucket, babe, but at least I'm enjoying the ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Yeah, at least I'm enjoying the ride. You analyze me, tempers splash in your life. When I stumble and fall, there may come a day I will dance on your grave. If unable to dance, I'll crawl across it. Unable to dance, I will crawl. Yeah, unable to dance, I'll crawl. Yeah. Consider the circuit, cause it just might be your kind of zoo. I can't think of a place more perfect for a person as perfect as you. And it's not like I'm leaving you lonely, cause I wouldn't know where to begin. But I know that you'll think of me only when the snakes come marching in. Yeah, when the snakes come marching in. Sipping champagne from your booth for a taste of your elegant pride. Maybe going to hell in a bucket, babe. Really, some enjoying the ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Woo! Ride, ride, ride. I'm enjoying the ride. Woo! Ride, ride, ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Ride, ride, ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Ride, ride, ride. I'm enjoying the ride. Ride, ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Ride. At least I'm enjoying the ride. Ride. Let us get on the phone with the gentleman who's the reason why we played that song. That's the first Grateful Dead song you heard live, Ross Warner?
Yes, it was. I guess right now we'd be beginning that slow, syrupy, sugary. But yeah, that was Friday night, 9/18/87.
You picked a hell of a day to get on the bus, sir.
I did, and when everything Grateful Dead, it was seemingly by chance. But of course, now we always think it means something afterwards.
Ross Warner is the author of Drunk on Sunday, which is one of those fictionalized memoirs that we like to read, and does not suffer from the problem of some of these books that we've seen of either not being a very good writer or not having a very interesting life. You are both a good writer and you've had a very interesting life. It's a sort of a typical Deadhead story in a certain way, but all of the details are fascinating, and I haven't gotten to the end of it yet, so I don't know how it turns out, but you're still here, so it must end well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still here, and my two kids, 13-year-old and 9-year-old, are running around somewhere in the house, Aaron and Sarah, and yeah, I've made it this far, so I have a beautiful wife, Sam, and a seemingly normal life.
Well, yeah, as normal as a Deadhead life can be.
Exactly.
Which, it's Bob Weir once wonderfully described the whole appeal of the Grateful Dead and Deadheads as misfit power, and this book seems to be a great narrative of misfit power, from the very fact of a kid growing up in Westchester County, New York, attaching himself to the San Diego Chargers as his football team of choice. That seemed to be the first kind of misfit moment in the book.
100%, and that is exactly when I was trying to put it all together and realizing that maybe I had something to tell. Obviously, I knew that maybe the Chargers and the Grateful Dead didn't have a connection, but like you said, that belief that you're on the outside, that you're an outlaw. Like I said, the image of the Dead giving the finger, or carrying the guns, which obviously belies what a lot of people attach to them. But also, but what does it mean to be a super fan? I remember reading Dave's long time ago. Grateful Dead are like box scores, and what happens when you're obsessed with reading the box scores, but you also want to call 1-800, run Dead and find out what you missed last night, or realize you have to get out of town so that you don't miss it.
Right, and there are certain superstitions and rituals that are connected to being a fan of anything that are consistent in the book. There was a run of games where the San Diego Chargers were winning, so you didn't want they won a game that you did not watch, so you went on a run of not watching the games in hopes they would win. And Dead fans have those little rituals and superstitions as well, and it's sort of a love letter to fan culture in a way.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think, like I said, there was a long time in the mid-'90s where, obviously after, Jerry died, where, I wanted to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And then, like I said, originally the book started out as me telling stories, and obviously over time and many rejections, I did realize that there was a lot to be gained by putting it in some kind of a novel, because obviously, it doesn't always turn out like it does in the song. So my stories don't always have the endings. I did a lot of telling and not showing at first. But, I'm glad that, like I said, came through, because I do remember when I was writing it and I saw, the trailer for A Long Strange Trip, and I saw just that, crazy, that great, collage that they put together of just all the different elements. I was like, that's the Grateful Dead I want to make people realize that exists, not just, the stuff that they all associate with the Grateful Dead, people that don't know them.
Right.
Well, for a non-football fan, what is the particular special nature of being a Chargers fan?
Right now it's like hell on earth. But at the time, I'm sure like many kids growing up, they passed all the time. They had cool uniforms, and again, I only experienced them through watching them on the television. So, it became a kind of this thing where, as I mentioned in the book, I had a difficult time, letting go of things once I got a hold of them. So, obviously they have not won a Super Bowl. They're on that list of the tortured 12 of teams that have not yet won a Super Bowl. And, I certainly, that isn't good, but at the same time, it's something I certainly haven't been able to let go of, even though I live 3,000 miles away, and they've changed cities. And,
That's my next question. How do you become a fan of a team that you're nowhere near? I mean, why does a kid growing up in the Northeast become a fan of a football team from the opposite side of the country?
Like I said, I think it was really just late '70s. They threw all the time. They had Dan Fouts.
So you like their style?
Yeah, they were exciting, and I think it ties in what Gary said. I guess at the time, even though I was only 8 years old, I found it was different. It was exciting. The same way that hearing English Town, for the first time, kind of opened my eyes to something. And then, as Gary also mentioned, it started to have a real big come down when they started going 4-12. It won at 15, and I've watched the Giants win 4 Super Bowls here. So one could argue that maybe I didn't make the right choice, but at this point, I don't think there's any getting out of it.
One thing
the
I wanted to
title
ask
of the book. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask about the form you've chosen. I have other friends who have written works of autobiographical fiction, right, where people they've encountered are either thinly or more heavily veiled versions of themselves. Yeah. And what my friends who have done this have experienced is some of their friends are saying, hey, is that jerk in the book supposed to be me? And then others are offended because they weren't depicted. Hey, why am I not in the book? So have you had feedbaap from people you've known over the years?
What's been great about it is the people, obviously my wife, my kids, and my friends who, all appear in the book, albeit with name. I mean, they all feel like, that pretty much was the story. I may have, like I said, changed the narrative a little bit to make it seem like it had more meaning, at the time, and that, because obviously when you're experiencing it. But no, I think for the most part, people will read it and say, that's you, and we did that, and maybe, it didn't occur in that exact timeline, or but I think it is very true. Like I said, Deadheads have read it and said, gosh, I wish there was a little bit more of the dead in it, but I was surprised how much I like it. And football fans have read it and said, well, there really wasn't as much football in it as I would have expected, but it turns out I ended up liking that. So, but the people that are depicted, whether it be like kind of a Hunter Thompson or Exley, I mean, maybe I didn't veil it that thinly, the autofiction. Right. I was like I said, kind of forced into this genre because at the time I realized that unless you're an established voice, that me, regaling you with old favorites, as Bobby would say, it doesn't really sell unless you are an established voice. But over time, I did kind of, find myself really enjoying doing it because, of course, I could change things a little bit and I could make them, maybe go in a way that I couldn't make them when they were actually going on.
Right.
And what sort of job do you do these days? What sort of career?
Well, in addition to writing, I do teach high school here in Long Island. So, as I mentioned in the book, I did get into teaching, even though, like I said, as a kid, I never would have thought that I was actually going to be a teacher. So I teach high school social studies, believe it or not.
Well, that's a good thing to do with a history major.
Yes, I'm both Spicoli and Mr. Hand all at once.
Does that quality make you more attuned to and able to look through the crap that Spicoli's give you?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, kids, if kids tend to like me because they say, I'm cool, but at the same time, I do, remember what it was like to be them. So occasionally I have had kids look in the back of the room and they'll see the stickers and stuff like that, and they'll be like, hey, wait a second. I did have a kid a week ago wear a Steal Your Face shirt to school, and I was like, oh, cool, and I, pointed to my speakers, which have, all sorts of stickers on them, and she looked at me like it wasn't the same thing. I was like, all right, maybe these kids are just making fashion choices. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't think I'll ask her if she's heard, the audience of the Capitol Theater 70, 624 show. Maybe that would be a bad idea.
One thing to me is one thing the book speaks to is like some of the things that are experiences that are universal to Deadheads or incredibly common to Deadheads. Because I saw my first show, I think about 19 years before your first one, and still the resonances that are right there for me. Say, oh yeah, that's what it felt like. That having that moment of realization about this music and about this weird band and how you had an affinity for them. They're continuous through the years, and now we hear from kids who weren't even born when Jerry was here, and they're having that experience. And
it's crazy. Tomorrow night I'm doing a virtual thing at the book review out in Huntington, which normally would be a be an in-person thing. And the girl, Lauren, who runs it, I mean, she's obviously younger than me, but she's talking about she just went to the Dark Star, like, parking lot show, and it's crazy to me to realize, that these, there are people that have that feeling for the music that never actually experienced that. Or, my wife, I mean, only saw one show, and it was August 3rd, 94, and that obviously wasn't, that wasn't quite 1987, so it didn't have the same effect on her.
Indeed. And also, there's a lovely, touching account of the protagonist in the book, and I assume you had this experience taking his dad to a show. Yeah. And have you passed on the experience to your kids?
I have not. That story, is true, and like you, I mean, I've dealt with some personal loss. My father passed away in 2017. My mom last year, so that did happen. My daughter Sarah and I did go out and see a band. We saw Half Step maybe a couple years ago, and again, she was 9 years old at the time. So, right. I took her out to a bar in Copiague where it was very reminiscent of the first time I saw the Volunteers before they were the Zen Tricksters out in Freeport. And as soon as we got there and they played Shakedown, it was very cool. But then I realized that people are kind of coming up to her, and then people were leaving to go hang out in the parking lot. And when we left, she asked me why did the parking lot smell so funny? So I started to question my decision of taking her, but my kids do enjoy it, and they do enjoy like that kind of Easter egg culture, like you're mentioning, that you guys probably have seen. I mean, like I said, I still remember buying a copy, playing the band, in high school, and just constantly reading. And now, every now and then when I drop the kids off, there'll be a parent who'll see the sticker, and it is really crazy. But yeah, they do enjoy the music. My wife probably would say they don't enjoy a song that's more than 9 minutes long, but. Yeah, I don't think that I won't be playing 21370 for them anytime soon.
You reviewed shows for the Compendium and Dead Bass and stuff?
I did. I reviewed shows for Dead Bass. I hunted down John Scott, and then I originally got, I think it was one of those Ned Legion tapes. I remember years ago asking you, because I had the cassette of it, and I was able to hear in between the Crosby stuff where they're hacking and coughing, where Bobby was talking about being a registered Republican and all this like weird stuff that I had sensed. But yeah, I did write for Dead Bass. I did write for the Tape Compendium, and that was really cool because again, I still remember getting my first Dead Bass that looked like it was like mimeographed, and just being able to like add to that, and somebody else like looking at it and being like, wow, I remember looking at the Book of the Deadheads and seeing the list of all the shows in the back, and just thinking like, oh, I wonder if they're any good, or what do they sound like, are there recordings, or that's a rabbit hole that is very easy to get stuck into. And I'm proud to say I'm definitely still that person. I still listen every day, and still wonder why we don't have tapes of this show or that show, or the Glen Falls '81 soundboard ever come out, if it exists. And
well, we've been talking with Ross Warner, and his book is called Drunk on Sunday, and it gets a very enthusiastic thumbs up from both of your hosts here today. Yes. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it. Really, really well written, really, really fun, entirely a credible story. There's nothing in it that makes me want to go, yeah, that didn't happen.
It rings true.
So, good work, sir. I really appreciate it.
And
you can find it on Amazon, friends, and also from No Frills Buffalo, nfbpublishing.com. But really, if you just search for the title Drunk on Sunday, I'm sure you'll find several ways to get hold of it.
Yeah, and like I said, tomorrow I'll be at 7 o'clock doing an event at the Book Review, REVUE, with Alan Paul, who has written the book on the Almonds and has written the book on Stevie Ray, and has been kind of a kindred spirit, Jewish guy who has been immersed in this scene. And I obviously have a different perspective on the Dead with him, but I know that the Book Review has been very friendly to the Dead. I know Billy did an event there, so hopefully people can check it out and learn a little bit more about the book.
Very good.
We'll post a link to that as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ross.
It's great to have you, Ross.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot, guys. It's really been an honor.